Well, next talking point, which I'm actually kind of nervous to jump into, um, a little moment with y'all, man. Like I shared with y'all. um, so just context for the listeners, I have always been somewhat of a big wrestling fan. So it's just always been something that's interested me. Recently, the business is booming. Like it's just been growing, and they recently made a move to Netflix, and I've just been super tuned in. It's WrestleMania season, meaning that I mentioned the Royal Rumble earlier, but the Royal Rumble's about 2 weeks away. WrestleMania is just a couple of months away, so it's prime time to be watching wrestling, and they have big shows coming into the region in New York City and Jersey over the next few months. So I'm super excited about it. Another thing that's excited me has been the debut of Penta, also known as Pentagon or Pentagón Jr., who made a big splash in Lucha Libre in Mexico and was recently in AEW, which this is the rival wrestling company to WWE. The WWE's always pretty much always been the juggernaut, depending on who you ask. Obviously, they've dipped here and there, but they've always been the main player. Um, and so, yes, this huge Mexican luchador recently made his debut in the WWE, and I didn't want to send y'all his full match, but just based off the entrance, I wanted to know what are your guys' raw reactions to it.
Well, I guess I'll start as someone who, and I'm sorry to any listeners who like wrestling, but I literally have never watched wrestling. I never played any of the games. I know the WWE games or something. So I watched this with a blank slate, just that's that. Only knowing Hulk Hogan, but that has its downsides, I guess. So seeing this, I was like, all right, this is like a wannabe Kiss band member. This girl's crying in the crowd seeing him enter, and I had no idea why, because he's just like moving mad, entering the ring, taking up hella time. Like, bro, you get it, you're doing your walk. Like, just get to it. He was looking a bit snaky, his mouth, a bit like a mime. So it's very performative. I always knew the WWE was kind of very drama or kind of performance heavy. I just wasn't expecting that. I don't know. I know some wrestlers got their own themes and ways they enter the ring, so I don't know if this is regular for this dude, but yeah, I can't say it made me more of a wrestling fan. But that's just me. That's not knowing anything about him or his background, but that's just me, uninformed viewer.
Okay, I'll reserve my comments. I'll let Dre go, and then I'll chime in.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear your perspective on this, because it's obviously luchador, and maybe you're a little more familiar with him than I am. Just to give a little bit of context to the viewers, I'm also I was also a big WWE fan, but like it's been like 10 years since I was like heavy into it. So I've like kept up here and there, but like I've literally never heard of this dude in my life. I'd never watched AEW. I just knew like Punk was over there, and this guy, like, I don't know if this is like, no offense to him, I don't know if this was and I'm sure you'll give us some more context maybe, but I don't know if this is like his usual entrance, like video package and like music and stuff. But like when he first came out, maybe the audio isn't great on the video we watched, but like didn't even seem like the crowd was that gassed from what I could tell. And like maybe this is like a cultural thing, or it's like something in the luchador spirit that I don't understand, but bro started moving zesty coming down the ramp, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. Like,
don't say it's snaky, bro. He was squirming down there.
I ain't gonna lie. I like this energy, like generally. I love a good entrance. I wouldn't say this is one of my favorite ones that I've seen, but I think he had good energy for sure. I'm sure he'll have a good future, but like, even like he did like the little zesty walk, and then he started taking off his jacket, struggling a bit there. Like the whole
that
thing
was funny.
it's just kind of, you know, I'm sure stepping up to WWE, like, because for all intents and purposes, it is the big leagues. I'm sure there's like a little bit of nerves there, so I'm not gonna dog on the guy too much. But you know, there have been better debuts that I've seen. Let's just put it that way. But I haven't seen the match, so maybe the match he went crazy.
Bro, who was that fake Homelander he was approaching in the ring? Anyways,
Fake Kurt Angle, bro.
You can stay at Homelander, man.
That's crazy. That's insane. Okay, so this is exactly
right?
Huh?
Yeah. Okay.
I know him, but I don't. Really, all I know is that only thing I think of him is that he's like broke man's Kurt Angle. But I don't know anything else about him. But I mean, you can like enlighten me on that too.
I mean, I'm not like I don't hate Chad Gable, but you wouldn't be wrong to feel that way. Like we've seen the gimmick before and we've seen it done better. So
got you.
That's really what it is. But dang, this breaks my heart because I said something up. Yo, like they're gonna think this is sick. Like they're gonna like be like they'll obviously have questions, but like I didn't think it was just gonna be straight from the jump. So I do need to give y'all some context. So one, his look. He goes by Penta or Pentagón, and the origins of his gimmick is that he was considered like the evil twin of this other guy, Octagon, in Mexico, and so he has this like dark, I guess you could say, aura to him. Like his whole gimmick is dark. You know, obviously when he entered or when he made his entrance, the lights went out, and then it comes up and there's red and there's some pyro going on in the back. So I'm like, where do I even start? But the zesty walk or the snaky look. So this is why I think wrestling is so beautiful. Like it's things like that are Easter eggs that like if you know where it's coming from, or if you know the inspiration, like you appreciate it. So it looks like he was paying homage to a legend in Lucha Libre. His name was La Parca, who I actually grew up watching when I was a kid. And La Parca had a very similar look, had this like skeleton jumpsuit, full black suit with like white. He had like this white skeleton, and he would even come out to. It's interesting that you say like zesty, but like La Parca was very inspired by Michael Jackson. Like he would come out to Thriller, and he had like this like little like breakdancing kind of gimmick, and he would walk in that same way. So that's where the inspiration came from. And who was that girl crying in the crowd? It was actually his daughter, Alexi. So she was just, just a proud daughter moment, just cheering on her dad.
Oh man.
The entire family was there, and he actually had a very heartfelt like moment in the ring after his match where he's just like, to be honest, I'm so glad I sent y'all the entrance and not his promo at the end, because I feel bad for the guy, right? Like I mean, this is also like, I think he was set up to fail in this sense, but like he doesn't speak fluent English, so he was just like, he was trying to do some English, but then in the end he kind of just was like, all right, let me just speak to y'all in Spanish, to be honest. Like, and I think they were in, they were in California, so the audience was able to understand him for the most part. It's a huge Mexican population, obviously, so like to me, people seemed excited for this. I was curious because not once did y'all mention like what was that like slogan that he like yelled out that like people, I don't know if y'all caught that.
Nah,
like,
I did not catch that.
Yeah, his main slogan is Cero Miedo, which just means like no fear. But he does it in his entrance, he does it during his matches, he does it during his promos, and people have actually been more tuned in or tapped in than I thought they would be. So I actually think, I think it was Dre mentioned he wasn't sure if people were as excited. To me, people have been more familiar with him than I expected. But I understand the reservations though. Like as a wrestling fan, I understand that what I watch is sometimes not, like to the outsider may not look interesting, but I'm personally a fan of all the theatrics. I'm a fan of the gimmicks of like just the big drama moments. And I can appreciate an entrance. So I honestly was blown away by this. I wish Penta nothing but the best. I'm actually excited to see him in the big leagues. So I'm personally rooting for him. But regardless, I appreciate your guys' input because this is fun.
Yeah, man. Penta would beat my ass, man. Wishing the best, man.
You gotta retract. You can stand on what you said. But
I'm standing on it. But I still think the WWE is always crying out for like the next great luchador to come through. So like I obviously have hope for him to succeed. Like obviously we grew up with Ray, so like that's like the GOAT for me anyway. Like obviously I don't know too much about the scene, but at least for those who've crossed over, he's like had like the biggest splash. Yeah, he is, right? I would assume so.
Yeah, I would 1000%.
Then you had someone like Sin Cara come through, but I was like, what is this broke man's, bro? Like this dude. Like, his moveset.
That's so interesting to me.
His moveset's amazing.
Because when Sin Cara came,
go ahead.
Yeah. I was just gonna say when Sin Cara came, I was so excited to see him because again, I grew up watching him as well. And in Mexico, he was Místico. It's so like I actually have like memories of like my dad, my brother, and I watching him and like being excited to see him come on because we thought he was like the coolest guy on the roster. And to see him jump into WWE after having seen like a success like Rey Mysterio, you're not wrong in thinking or like saying that like they're always looking for like the next luchador. Like I definitely see that, but I don't know, man. This all goes back to perspective. Like I'm not gonna act like I'm the most familiar with Penta's work. I knew who he was in AEW. I knew who he was in Mexico, and so seeing him just make a splash, it's like seeing. I guess it's the equivalent to seeing like a player you're rooting for. I don't know. We've talked about LiAngelo Ball, right? It's like if LiAngelo Ball made it to the NBA, like, you would probably, depending on who you are, like I'm a fan of the Ball family, I would be happy to see him make the NBA roster. So this is how I feel, like watching someone like Penta.
Whoa.
Exactly. Yeah. I'd be happy to see him ride the bench too, because like I do not care about the dude. But I think that's a fair take. And I don't want to hate on Sin Cara. His moveset was dope, but he just didn't, it didn't land the same way.
He didn't hit it.
It's impossible to follow up. Right. It's impossible to follow that up. But
Sin Cara also go ahead.
He's Sin Cara what?
I was just gonna say like Sin Cara also had his like shortcomings. Like he didn't prosper, and he's partially to blame for that. Is all I'm saying. But that's
gotcha.
That's another conversation.
Yeah, we'll keep up with it. I'll be keeping an eye just because you gave that whole heartfelt backstory for Penta and his demon or his like evil self and his like maybe what happened to Octagon? Why is he not making the crossover together? I don't know what's going on with that.
Idea. I have no idea.
But now having, I was gonna say now having the context, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on Penta moving forward.
Right. Okay. Octagon's also in his 60s, so that's partially why he has to Penta's also pretty like on the older side. Like Penta is 39, if I'm not mistaken. He's 39 or 40. So will he make a splash like Rey Mysterio? I doubt it. He's towards the end of especially when you're a luchador, like the body's gonna give out. So I think this is more of like a big wrestler who's been successful in every promotion, making a jump to the big leagues. Like this is what I see it as, is like
big payday, end of the career,
highlight of my career. Yeah, let me get paid, let me make it to the big leagues,
that's
have
fair.
some cool matches, and then go on, like right off into the sunset. But yeah, I mean I'm super excited to see what happens, because regardless he's gonna draw money regardless, so I'm excited.